Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is when you see this. This is Dee, and I thought by request somebody asked me two people asked me to do a video on what kind of jobs are good for INFP, and so I thought I would do this. The main thing, we can do anything. Out of the 16 personality types with Myers-Briggs, I think we're the only ones that can do anything because we're so interested in the world. That's where we come in with the intuition and the perceiving. And so I'll give some things about myself. So just when I was thinking about jobs that I have, I think the ones I've been the happiest in, and that includes hobbies too, because some I did just as a sidekick thing, side hustle, and it was for fun and didn't make a whole lot of money. But two things I'll tell you about that. One is to be in nature. This is why I'm showing my favorite picture. Don't know how it's going to turn out. I'm working on it. Bear with me. One of my daughters told me I'm the worst cinematographer in the world, which naturally did what, everybody? In unison? Hurt my feelings. Yes, it did. But I do what I can. I was going to do it outside, but it's dark, and I wanted to do it now instead of wait till tomorrow because I got other things to do tomorrow, like work on my other YouTube channel. That's actually doing a whole lot well. But anyway, so we need to be in nature or something natural, ideally. And also we need, I would suggest being an entrepreneur. Be your own boss. If not as a pay your bill type job, but a side hustle if nothing else. It'll make you a whole lot happier. I have owned 2 businesses, and if you call this YouTube stuff, this is a hobby, but it can be a job. So this is the third thing I'm doing. Just on my own and being my own boss, because we don't like rules, we don't like being told what to do, don't like deadlines necessarily. So those 2 things in general, if you can find something that you like to do that has something to do with nature, it's going to make you happy, creative, natural, and the second thing is work for yourself. So I'm going to try to remember everything that I've done of significance, but I've had a ton of jobs, a ton of different types of jobs. The only thing personally that I'm not good at is math and science, and I think that's maybe a mental block because my father was a scientist and my mother loved math. So I'm thinking I'm being independent, I'm not going to learn those 2. But I'm interested in science, but I can't do science tests because they're always like fill in the blanks or multiple choice. I want to write a novel. Give an example. When I was in college, had Biology 101 one semester, and one of the questions on the exam was why are the leaves on the trees green? And I thought, and I couldn't think what the real answer was, the scientific answer. So to me, I just wrote it in, the reason is to make the forest prettier. So I got it wrong. I made a 30 on the exam, went back and talked to my professor, and I said, why is this wrong? And he's like, well, he gave me the scientific stuff of what the answer is. And I said, yeah, but don't you think leaves make the forest prettier? So I was right. So I can do science, but I can't pass the test because I think, creatively, we just don't think A, B, C, D, pick one. I can rationalize all the answers sometimes. But anyhow, here we go. So keep that in mind. Some of you out there, if you are good in math and science, I'd like to hear about it and what kind of jobs you do. I can do budgets. I have run organizations and have to do budgets. I can fundraise. I can keep up with money. But as far as, and I did really well in algebra and trig in school. I don't know what it's used for, but I did real well with that. Statistics I can do. Actually, maybe I can do math. I can do the hard math. I can't do the adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, what you use in everyday life, the practical stuff. But if it's out there in the world, in the universe, then I can do it. So anyway, so I'm going to tell you, and I'll probably ramble on because I don't have any notes, but I'll do it as succinctly as I can. If you're wondering, this picture here is my favorite one. I'm a very spiritual person. These are the San Francisco peaks outside Flagstaff, Arizona, where I went a couple of years ago, which is what my other YouTube channel is about. It's about traveling. Love it, love it, love it. I like to ride the trains, and I go alone. I like to go solo because, well, you don't have to deal with people. You just have to deal with people a short amount of time. And if I want to be alone, I just get up and move somewhere else. But I've been across over 20,000 miles on Amtrak in the past couple of years, cross country and back 3 times. So I love doing that. So this was I was really awestruck by that. I would like to live out there. But I got altitude sickness. That's a whole nother thing. So yeah, the altitude's kind of high. But that's what we're looking at. So that's the only nature I can do. I hope it does show up. I apologize if not. Okay, so what have I done as an INFP? Okay, first thing I'm going to put in there is entertainer. Yes, I know. Introverts like to stand in the corner. When I go to a party, I stand in the corner or by the ranch dip or by the ranch dressing and the chip dip, that kind of thing. But I'm an entertainer if I don't have to see people. First thing I did, starting 3 years old, the first time I got on stage was in dance. I love dance, so I was out around the community doing performances until age 7. Then I got interested in sports. I was good in sports. Actually, I wanted to be a professional basketball player. That's my best sport. And I don't have just one sport. I learned them all. I want all of them to do. Growing up, the kids next door and in the neighborhood, we played polo. We didn't have horses. We used bicycles in the backyard. Anything that I saw, and particularly when I saw the Olympics, I mean, my gosh, that was wonderful. All these sports, and I wanted to do all of them. But I wanted to be a professional basketball player. That got stuffed when I learned in junior high that there wasn't any such thing for women. And that really depressed me, not clinically, but well, maybe it did a little bit. My teenage years were kind of hard. So I had decided to go into coaching until my first semester in college. I saw all the science. I just wanted to play. I didn't understand why we had to have kinesiology, anatomy, physiology. I can't even pronounce the words. So I didn't do too well, so I switched my major. So entertainment. So athlete is an entertainer. When I got into college and had to switch my major, I went into English Lit and then got into theater, sideways into theater. So I did really well in theater. I like to be behind the scenes there. My favorite job, I've done all of it, including sweeping the floors. But the thing I really love about that is to do the lighting. I like to do the lighting. And so as far as entertainer now, I'm doing YouTube. So entertainer's number 1, and I've already talked for 9 minutes. I got to keep it moving. So that's the number 1 thing I did, entertainment. We can do entertainment because it's creative. You got to be do something that is creative, whatever way it is. I've been to craft fairs. I used to do make pocketbooks way back in the day, and needlework and that kind of thing. I go to craft fairs. So that kind of creative thing in entertainment, number 1 that I did. I've had a career in sales and sales management. And I will say, too, that they say INFPs are not leaders. Every job that I've ever had just about. I worked my way into another higher level. I wasn't after it. I just went to work and did my best, what I'm supposed to do, and be honest and do an honest day's work. Wound up in management. So I had a career in retail. A lot of people say, well, introverts, we've got to be around people. That didn't really bother me because I worked on commission. And if you want to pay me and I'm going to make more money, yeah, that interested me. That wasn't as an INFP. That's as my zodiac sign, which I am into astrology also. I'll get into that next. But, yeah, so I worked in sales. But I worked in sales I like to do real estate. And I'm segueing in. So when I was in retail, I was selling home furnishings. So I like to decorate. And again, that's creative. So I did well in that. And I did crafts, craft shop, managed craft shop, that kind of thing. Creative, again. I'm a demo person. I saw a video about that. The INFPs are better at demolition than they are at fixing things. Like I said, can't do practical stuff. I'm mechanically challenged, but I'm good at demo. I can paint, I can wallpaper, I can figure out what I want to do in houses. I've managed property that I've owned. I have some investments now, that's real estate. So I enjoy doing that. Now, getting into what I was talking about, astrology. I've always been interested in astrology. I found out when I was in college that I'm a medium. Medium are people who see dead people, quite frankly. I don't like that, so I kind of stuff it back. I read tarot cards. That's something that I learned a couple of years ago, maybe? Yeah, a couple of years ago. I learned to read tarot cards. It's interesting, though, how it works. Two things about what's happening in the world that I'll just mention real quick. Two things that have happened in the world that I have seen ahead of time. One, I did tarot cards for the election in the United States this November 2020. Way back, about the beginning of 2020, I read the cards to see who the nominee was going to be for the Democratic side. Based on the cards, I came out with Joe Biden, which turned out to be correct. I wanted to know who his running mate was going to be. So I did the cards again. I pulled some cards, and based on the cards and what I saw and read, it came out to be Kamala Harris. They both came to be true. So, and I told a friend of mine about that, so I got a witness. Second thing was last January 2020, I had a dream about a civil war in the United States. And I was a year early, but I dreamed it. I saw the word Civil War, and I saw the flags, and I saw one guy in particular. I won't describe him, but one guy in particular looked a lot like some of the people that did storm the Capitol. That's all I'll say. I saw that a year in advance. So those kinds of things come to me in dreams and come to me, so I can do that. But we have intuition. You can develop that, and I think maybe INFPs have a higher sense of that than a lot of people do. I think INFJs are supposed to have the most, but then they say INFJs are supposed to have the most of everything. This is just a side note, but every time I go to YouTube and I search in YouTube something about INFP, what pops up? INFJ. And I'm like, no. No. So anyhow, getting back to what I've done. I've been to law school. I didn't stay in law school because there's too much structure there and there's too much good old boy mentality. I want to change the world. We're mediators and we're advocates and mediators. So I want to kind of change the system, make the world a better place to live. And law is not the place for that. I did really well in law. but I left. And then I went to get a master's degree in social work. So I spent most of my career in social work. Now, I like social work because you can change your work for change, but there's so many jobs you can have within the field of social work. I worked in mental health mostly. I've worked in hospital settings, mental health hospital settings, which was interesting. I've worked in HIV. I've been the CEO of a food pantry free pharmacy for those who don't have much of anything. And I like working for the underdog. That's an INFP trait, is that we pull for the underdog. So those are the types of jobs I've had. They have not made much money, I'll be honest. I've worked in homeless shelters. I've done home visits with ADHD kids in the project, so to speak, on the other side of town, or whatever you want to say, in the impoverished neighborhoods. I've done all that. So I really did enjoy my time being a social worker. After I retired from social work, which was a forced retirement, or I would still be doing it, I worked as a pharmacy tech, counting pills all day long. Now that was boring, but the interesting thing about that was I can count the pills when they're filling scripts. I can count the pills, but then my mind can go to other places. Like I can make a grocery list, or I can make plans in my head, even though I'm probably not going to do it, but I make plans in my head. So I did do that. I have done, in retirement, been a golf coach for kids after school. That goes back to my sports. I love being outdoors and outdoors. Love being outdoors. I love kids, small kids. I like animals and small kids. Which brings me to my entrepreneur part. I've owned the businesses that I've owned. I've owned a pet sitting company as a sidekick, side hustle to a regular job I had. So I've owned a pet sitting company that did really well until 2008, when we had the big recession. A lot of people didn't go anywhere anymore, and I had to change jobs because I got laid off my job and had to get another job, so where I was working weekends, full-time weekends, so that wiped that out. I've also owned my own in-home independent book publishing company. I like to read. I think most of us do like to read, and I don't like the idea that there's not a level playing field of who gets published. If you're a celebrity or if you know the right people, you'll get published, and there's only about a couple of publishing houses anyway. So the average person doesn't have a chance. So again, here's the underdog thing. So I started my own book publishing company. It got to the point that the fourth book I published wound up in Barnes & Noble. So I did have them in a major retailer, and it was sold on Amazon and independent book. My books were sold in independent bookstores, and also, but Barnes & Noble did take the last book I published, because as I learned that they got better in the way they looked. So that's basically what I have done. I've done a ton of other things. Like file clerk and that kind of thing. Worked for temp agencies. I worked in fast food. If you need a job, you need a job. So I've been creative in being able and fortunate to be able to find a job. So that's basically what I've done. So I hope you like this. I've gone way long. This is twice as long as I wanted it to be, but I hope you are finding this interesting and helpful. I want you to comment below, give me some more ideas of topics you want me to discuss, and I'll be glad to do that. Like, share, subscribe, and until next time, be safe and have some fun.